Viruses have played a huge part in all of our lives this year. If COVID isn't enough, now there's an outbreak of avian flu in the UK, which has ramifications for all chicken and poultry owners. And yes, chickens are now joining us in lockdown. In this episode of the Vet Podcast, we discuss avian flu with our resident exotic animal vet, Richard Rice Grubb. If you have poultry in the UK, you really should listen to this.
You are listening to the Vet Podcast, presented by veterinarian Dr. Brian Greger from New Zealand. Join us as we discuss pet health issues from around the world.
I'd like to welcome back again Richard Rice Grubb, who is a Kiwi-trained veterinarian working in the UK at the moment. Now, amongst other things, Richard has got quite an interest and some qualifications in exotic animal medicine, including chickens. At the moment, I'm reading, Richard, that there is a problem with avian flu in the UK. Avian flu is the same as bird flu?
Yeah, it's the same, just influenza.
So this is only in the UK that we've got the problem?
At the moment, the problem with avian flu is really it's around in a lot of places, and there seems to be a wild reservoir in particularly waterfowl. So wild waterfowl have carry quite a lot of influenza viruses, most of which are low pathogenicity, won't cause too much of a disease or a problem. But in the UK at the moment, there is a highly pathogenic strain that is going through several flocks. That happens every few years.
So this isn't a new disease?
Not really. It's a newer strain, but no, it's not a new disease in that it does flare up from time to time. For example, between 1996 and 2008, there were over 11 outbreaks around the world, 4 of which of those involved over millions of birds. So it does happen fairly regularly.
So this is the same virus that's sort of ticking over between different wild bird populations throughout the
there are some very different strains. It's a bit like the flu in people. You'll get different strains somewhat each year. Most of those, as I say, aren't going to cause too much of a problem, but every now and again we get quite a highly virulent strain.
Can all birds get it?
It's been reported in all domesticated and captive birds, although there have been no cases for a while now of parrots or other companion birds being affected with avian flu. They can get it, but they don't get it very often. It tends to be more of a poultry disease.
What are the symptoms?
So mainly, the big thing is the head will swell. We'll often get blue discoloration around the neck or throat. The appetite really drops. There might be gaping, coughing, sneezing, sometimes diarrhea. In larger flocks, you'll notice a drop in egg production and death, increased mortality.
So this is obviously a very significant problem for the commercial poultry guys. If you have got a few pet chickens at home and they get it, are they going to die? The
strain at the moment is fairly pathogenic, so it is unfortunately fairly likely that they can die, yeah.
How infectious is it?
It's mainly spread by close contact and secretions and dirty footwear and droppings. It's not spread through the air, but it is very infectious to close contacts.
Probably in this viral-ridden world that we're living in, a big question about it is, can humans or other animals contract this virus?
Depends on the strain of avian influenza, but yes, it has been reported in avian influenza viruses have been shown to affect dogs, cats, ferrets, pigs, and occasionally people, although there doesn't seem to be any good evidence of spread between those people, with those animals. They always seem to come from birds.
Is it still safe to eat eggs and poultry?
Currently, yes. The current consensus on the risk over here is that it's very low risk. If your poultry and eggs is cooked well, it's a very low chance you've got any worry of contracting the disease.
What then are the implications for poultry owners? I mean, again, around the world, people are used to lockdowns and those sort of things. Are we in that sort of scenario? Are chickens locked down?
Yes. In the UK at the moment, there's what's called an avian influenza prevention zone in the whole of the UK. So currently, by law, all bird keepers, no matter how many birds you have to comply with several biosecurity measures. So cleaning and disinfecting equipment, cars, footwear between sites and between housing units, using foot dips if you have more than 50 birds with good strong disinfectant, approved disinfectant, at exit and entry points. Good vermin control, making sure you're not getting rats or anything into the enclosures or the coops. Making sure that not getting people going in and out of the housing places except for essential movement. So basically feed, get the eggs, check the chickens, but then don't go visit them otherwise. Also, just from today, actually, all birds must be kept indoors or under netting to stop wild birds getting into the coop or the enclosure or they're getting their droppings in there. And they've got to make sure that wild birds have no access to any chicken food or water, because again, most of the infections come from wild birds.
Are there then chicken police checking up on this?
The main responsibility really is AFA, so that's the government body that is responsible for looking at the Animal and Plant Health Agency, and they rely on reports from vets who have been contacted to say, the birds have died, or they've got more, or symptoms in a flock, and then they will investigate cases, and if confirmed, that's when they'll put control measures around that particular property.
So I guess one of the issues that we are going to have then is movement of chickens, like poultry shows will have stopped. People can't sell their chickens.
That's right, yeah. I mean, there aren't going to be any poultry shows until the restrictions are lifted, which will not be till late January at the earliest. Though they will still be able to be, the eggs will still be able to be collected and the meat will still be able to be used, but live birds won't be able to be transported between places.
If somebody suspects that their poultry have actually got the avian flu, what do they do? Do they just call their vet? Do they depopulate?
The first thing to do is to contact the vet. The vet can discuss the symptoms that they have and determine whether avian influenza or bird flu is likely on the premises. And then that vet may need to call AFA, who may, if the suspicion is high enough, will send someone out to send one of their official vets out to have a look, collect samples and quarantine the area. If it has been detected, then unfortunately a lot of the birds do have to be culled to prevent the spread of the disease. Is
it potentially possible, if this disease gets out of control, that there's going to be issues in the United Kingdom with egg supply and chicken supply, meat supply? That's very doubtful, because it's not a significant risk, generally considered to be a significant risk to people. And the only thing would be if we get a large number of birds having to be culled because of avian influenza, and that could affect supplies. But at this stage, it doesn't seem to be likely that will be the case. So just to finish off then, Richard, what are the take-home messages for the person with 5 chickens running around the backyard? What do they need to do and what do they need to watch out for? Mainly, watch out for any signs of respiratory disease. If they've got any birds with a lot of coughing, a lot of respiratory noise, gurgling, that sort of thing. If they've had any birds die unexpectedly, they need to really contact their vet as soon as possible. And the other take-home point really would be make sure you're keeping your birds indoors, practice good biosecurity, so cleaning of boots and clothes and hands before and after handling the birds, and really only check them when they're needed. So if you are in the UK and have poultry and would like to know more about this condition, I have put a link on our website, which, as you will remember, is vetpodcast.weebly.com, in the links page, which will have access to the DEFRA handout and also how to register your flock.
To find us on Facebook, Twitter or Instagram, just search at Vetpodcast and like us while you are there. Subscribe to us on your usual podcast player, and if you enjoyed the podcast, please rate us on your player and share us with your friends. Our website is vetpodcast.weebly.com. Weebly is Weebly, or email vetpodcast@gmail.com.